Welcome back. In today's episode, I want to talk about something that I've heard for a long time over the many years of me collecting movies on physical media. It's actually a term, and that term is region-free. So I've been buying discs since back in the DVD days, and even then I used to hear about DVD players that were region-free. Then there were Blu-ray players, and now we're already into 4K players. And the term region-free keeps coming up. So what does that mean exactly? Well, for home media disc releases, you have different regions. And so the primary ones seem to be A, B, and C. And the regions are sometimes numbers, so sometimes I've heard it called region 2 instead of region B. And what's interesting is that 4K discs seem to be by and large region-free themselves. I don't know why Blu-ray discs weren't that way, or why DVDs weren't that way, but basically every 4K disc will play in any 4K player around the world. I don't have an explanation for that, but the reason that I wanted to get a region-free player was for Blu-rays and DVDs to a lesser extent. So this is the Blu-ray player that I picked up, and what makes this special is that you can switch the region coding. So if you bought this normally, it would be locked to whatever region it was already set for. If you want to buy a region-free player, basically you're paying someone a premium price because they've gone in and modified, either through hardware or software, I'm not really sure how it's achieved, but to allow this player to play discs from region A, B, or C. And so the instructions that come with it are pretty simple. And this is probably the same for most players that you'll get, but basically you're just able to, I mean, it's nice that they print the instructions for you, and you just press like number 1 for region A on the remote, or number 2 or number 3 upon inserting a disc into the disc tray. And so this specifically came from a company, this seems to be like the go-to, at least for the United States. 220 Electronics is their official name, and then I think because I bought this on eBay, their eBay name was different. I think it was like Region Free DVD or something like that. Anyway, that's who I bought it from. I have no affiliation with them and have obviously never worked with them before because I've never had a Region Free player before. So again, this is what I started with, and just a quick side note, I've noticed that this model seems to have like a kind of a loud vibrating noise. It's a little bit annoying, so they do sell other brands, it says on here, Samsung and Panasonic. So I don't know, maybe you'd want to avoid this LG brand and go ahead and look at another brand that's been modified for region-free playback. You know, my first 4K player was also a region-free, was also an LG brand, not region-free, but just a 4K player, and it had that same buzzing, vibrating sound too. So I don't know if that's an LG thing or not. They're great players, but now I've had 2 that have made weird noises when you're playing. So the question you might ask is, why would you even want one of these? What are the reasons for wanting to get movie releases in other territories and importing them? And so there's a few reasons, and I'll just go over those real quick, at least for me personally, and we're just going to go through the movies I have so far that I've imported. The first reason that might seem the most straightforward is you might want a movie that just simply isn't released in your territory or region of the world. I think a great example of that is this film called The Loved Ones. This is a film from Australia that was released here in the United States. I mean, I went to see it at the Alamo Drafthouse. They had a special screening. It was definitely a very limited release for the States, and Harry Knowles was there in person to like moderate the screening. And it was a really good movie, and it stuck with me for years, and it just never came out. It was never released in the United States. I've heard it wasn't even released in Australia, its home country, but it did get a UK release. And so you'll notice with these releases, especially from the UK, they're different in different countries, but these little rating symbols that kind of blemish the cover art. But that's the first giveaway. If you were looking on eBay or someplace for this movie, you might think, oh, here's the Blu-ray, but it's not a US release. It's from the UK. And then the next thing you want to look at is actually on the back of the case. It's going to have a letter, and it says B on the back of this case, meaning that it is Region B playback only. And so that's why I need a region-free player to play this movie. So this is a movie that you can actually stream on Amazon Prime, just as an example. I do want to shout out the film. It's really good if you like Australian horror, which is kind of a subgenre all to itself at this point, I feel like. But yeah, a really memorable movie, and for years I wanted to own it, and the only way for me to get it was to buy this UK release. Another example, a film that was made in the United States, a film called Paper Moon from the director Peter Bogdanovich, and yeah, just never got a Blu-ray release. I do think it got a DVD release, but never released on Blu-ray. in the States, and you see a little yellow PG logo down here. So I'm not sure where this came from exactly, like what country. It might be the UK again. But also on the back it says, next to all the logos, the Blu-ray and the DVD logo in between, it says B for Region B playback. So these two are examples of films that I want to own in my collection, but that just were not released in the United States. And I'm sure inversely there are movies that are released here in the States that perhaps people in the UK don't have released into their territories. Another reason might be special packaging. So we're sticking with Blu-rays for right now, and primarily because, again, 4K discs are region-free for the most part. So this is a Blu-ray steelbook of the film Battle Royale, which was released in the United States. And but if you're a steelbook aficionado like me, then you might want to spring for something like this. Unfortunately, the steelbook was only released in the UK. So I look on the back. Again, it says Region B, so we know it's Region B playback. Most of these discs are going to be Region B, by the way. Here's another one. Similar story. We've got a steelbook of the Hellraiser trilogy, the first 3 films. There are many more films, but the first 3 are the only ones that have gotten kind of this lavish treatment. I think it was previously released in the United States in this big old box called like the Scarlet Box or something. But then Arrow Video went and made this really compact, efficient, space-wise on your shelf steelbook of all 3 films. Same discs, I think, from that set. Maybe it's missing like a bonus disc or something, but went ahead and bought this. Again, it's Region B locked, so I have to have the Region B player to play it. Now, what's another reason you might want a Region B player? Because yeah, maybe there aren't that many instances of you finding things like either movies that aren't released in your country or packaging that you really like and want to import. Something I've been finding myself doing more lately are these 4K releases where the 4K disc should be region free, but then all the bonus content is on Blu-rays, which are locked, and I can't play them on a player from the USA. So some examples of that would be like The Elephant Man, David Lynch film, where the first disc, there's like 3 discs in this, I think, and the first film is, or the first disc is the film on 4K, and sometimes you get some special features on the 4K disc that you can access, but a lot of them are on the 2 Blu-ray discs. So I need the region-free player to play the bonus discs, basically. Same goes for this release, this cool steelbook. It even glows in the dark, which I can't show you right now, but the steelbook release of Old Boy. By the way, this is like the best J-card packaging I've ever seen, where it actually just fits. It's protected on the bottom, and it slides right in. I love this. I wish every steelbook came with this kind of protection. But yeah, this is different, this logo. I think this is German, so I think this came from Germany, which means it's still a Region B disc. I'm not seeing the B on the back, but I do believe it's Region B as well. So the 4K disc can play anywhere, but there's like 3 extra discs. There's like 4 discs all in this steelbook, all dedicated to this one film, Old Boy. The original Old Boy, by the way, which has not been released on 4K in the United States, I don't think. So that's 2 reasons to get that one. Here's a film that, again, 4K release, steelbook of the film Don't Look Now. There's maybe 3 discs in here, I think. It says Region B on the back. And yeah, first film you can access on any 4K player. But to get to the bonus content, you need a region-free player. Here's some more recent releases maybe. I haven't even opened these yet. Dawn of the Dead got a really special 4K treatment from Second Sight Films. They had an even more lavish set that was like a bigger box that came with some more bonus content, I think, and like a graphic novel or something. I just waited until it got a little more affordable. So for like 40 bucks, you can pick this up. Again, the 4K discs will play just fine. It's that 5th or so bonus disc that's in here. 4th or 5th disc that's a Region B locked Blu-ray player or Blu-ray disc that I will need my region free player to watch all that content. Interesting side note about this, just addressing the cost of buying movies on physical media. I spent like almost the same money to buy this almost identical set when it was released on DVD as I think an Ultimate Edition. I remember it's like the most expensive thing I'd ever bought as far as movies go. And so it's crazy to think that I spent $50 on this in DVD form, standard definition, years ago, and now I've spent basically the same amount to buy it in 4K. So that's kind of nuts to me. Here's a film I love a lot, a very recent release, True Romance, and this is an Arrow release. It's kind of got that big old fancy outer box and then some bonus content inside, but there's just the standard release in there that has the 4K disc. And I don't even know if this has a bonus Blu-ray disc or not, but again, the example I'm showing is that if it does, I would need the 4K player to access that content. Now, a totally different reason might be cost. There are some instances I've come across where a movie costs less if I buy it and even import it from the UK than buying it here by the studio releasing it in the United States. So as an example of that would be this Troll collection. It's called, Troll the Complete Collection. It's 2 films, 2 Troll films, and then a third film, which is a documentary about Troll 2. So if you're a fan of this film, and if you live in the United States, you might know that this was released by Scream Factory domestically in the US. And only for a limited time did it contain a separate disc that held the documentary. The documentary is called Best Worst Movie, and it's probably better, well, it is better than both the movies. These are not good movies. If you don't know anything about the Troll movies, Troll 2 is supposed to be like the worst movie of all time. It's not. It's too enjoyable to be the worst movie of all time. But that Scream Factory release had Best Worst Documentary as a bonus DVD disc, and then after a certain number of them sold out, they stopped including it. So now you can't even get it anymore. But I could still buy this one from Eureka, is the company releasing it. So it says Region B on the back. We're back to Blu-rays now. So I need my region-free player to play both films, and they include Best Worst Documentary on its own disc as a Blu-ray. So big bonus to buy it this way, and it costs even less. It was like $20 maybe, possibly less than that. Similar story. This film, Time Bandits, Terry Gilliam film, which I'd never seen actually, but bought it because I was interested. I wanted to check out some of his movies, and there's a Criterion release of this in the United States that is far more expensive, well, a good bit more expensive than I spent on this, importing it from the UK. So again, on the back it says, Region B locked. Same video transfer, so same quality as far as the film presentation. Different set of bonus features, but the movie's the main thing. So this is the reason, this is the example to show. Another example, same thing. This costs less, this Arrow release of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the UK edition, Region B locked. But then Scream Factory did like a 2-disc special edition of the film that not only was more expensive, but I think now is out of print and is being sold for, big bucks online. You can buy this one again for maybe 20 bucks after tax. And the most recent one of these, to compare it to Criterion releases at least, and I haven't even watched these yet, this is probably the most recent one I've gotten, is the Once Upon a Time in China trilogy. And this is a weird release. I don't know these films that well, but I mean, it says it's a trilogy, but when I look on the back, it lists 4 films. So for those of y'all that are fans of this set of movies, I don't know. It says it's a trilogy, but there's 4 films in this, and then Criterion has now announced and is beginning to prep the release for their Once Upon a Time in China trilogy that's going for like $100, and I got this for 20 bucks. It's not a trilogy. I think the Criterion set has like 5 movies. But yeah, comparing the two, I would rather import, because I really just want kind of like the first 2, maybe 3 films of this, or you can spend $100 for the domestic release of it from Criterion. And then, so those are the primary reasons why you might want to buy a region-free player. Something else I'll just say real quickly to before we wrap it up is there are instances where a set of films will look like it's from a different region, but it actually is region-free. So here's, this is called the Basket Case Trilogy, a set of films from Frank Henenlotter, the filmmaker's name. So you see that little region, or it's not the region coding, but it's a rating logo from like the UK, the way they have to display their ratings on their stuff. And when you look on the back, it says the words region free. It doesn't say an A or a B or a C. It just says region free. So if you do your research, you can actually find releases that are from the UK but will play just fine on your player in the United States, in my case. Another example of this, and this is kind of weird because these are all Frank Henenlotter films, but I'm just using them as an example. They're all Arrow releases. So we have, well, this one's Frankenhooker, and on the back it says A, B, C. It shows all 3 letters, so that means it's region free. And then you have this one, Brain Damage. If I look on the back, it says region B. Same goes for this film, Maniac Cop. Or actually, no, the Maniac Cop does show A, B, and C on the back. The reason I wanted to show this one, Brain Damage, is that even though it says region B, I do believe it's a region-free disc. So sometimes they're even labeled improperly. So you can go to a website like Blu-ray.com and confirm, you know, there's users on that website that will actually tell you whether things are region-free or region-locked. So it's a good way to find that out. Anyway, I'm just getting started into collecting or starting to buy these types of films and importing them from overseas. So those are kind of the main reasons for me. Sometimes you can get a better price on the same film by importing it from a different territory. And sometimes you want a 4K release that has region-locked bonus content discs. And then there's the third reason, which maybe everyone isn't as big a fan of packaging, but I am. And so if I find something that has really cool packaging, or at least packaging that's not available to me in the United States on a domestic release, then I also want to spring for that. And you might be wondering what the cost of a region-free player is. I spent about $100, maybe a little more, on this Blu-ray player. And then there also are region-free 4K players that have the Blu-ray is what's unlocked. The 4K is already region-free, but they are way more expensive, like easily over $200, but then you only have the one player to deal with. So it's up to you what you want to spend. Anyway, that's been my experience so far. I've enjoyed, you know, going through these movies. Some of them, like I said, things like The Loved Ones, which I enjoy so much and hadn't been able to see, you know, unless I wanted to stream it. So I'm glad it's part of my collection, and this Blu-ray player now allows me to do that. So there are a lot more movies I'm going to add to my library this way. This is just the beginning and just kind of an introductory video that I wanted to share my experience. And if you're someone like me who kind of wants to broaden, you know, their horizons on like the options of movies you can buy, you're not just limited to your territory and to domestic releases in your country. With a region-free player, you do open up the possibilities to buy movies that either aren't released in your area or have more lavish or special releases in other areas that you want to own in your collection. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.